do away with this vulgar, animalistic nigger.
Whoa, now what do we have here?
Our committee.
Okay, so we got all, let me tighten my hat up. We got to buckle up for this one today. This is about to be something, yeah, it's about to be something, guys. Let's get right to it. I am Krizz Kaliko. I am the only multi-gold and platinum rapper, singer, songwriter, producer that reacts to videos on YouTube. This is Krizz Kaliko React. Let's go.
Krizz Kaliko.
Kaliko?
Krizz Kaliko. Krizz! Oh, they're waking Krizz up! Uh-oh!
Guys, like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We are one of the fastest growing channels on YouTube right now. Elvis Presley and the black community, the echo will never die. I don't know if this is a documentary or if this is a video. Let's get to this, though. You know, let's get to it. I'm interested to see what everybody has to say. When I hear that word, of course, that can be triggering, but I also, it makes me interested to know why people would say what they're saying. So anyway, let's get to it, man. Elvis Presley and the black community, the echo will never die. Yeah. Let's see what they gave me today.
I thought he was a very beautiful and still is, a very beautiful person, and his memory shall probably forever live on.
It definitely has.
You ain't nothing but a rabbit. You ain't no friend of mine.
There is no room in this city for the vulgar performances of Elvis Presley.
Oh, no.
It's shocking. I watched him gyrate his legs and swivel his hips. And our parent-teachers group feels he should not be on television.
We've set up a 20-man committee.
Not
to
gyrate his leg.
do away with this vulgar, animalistic nigger rock and roll bop. Our committee will check with the restaurant owners and the cafes to see what Presley records is on their machines, and then ask them to do away with them.
You've learned anything from the criticism leveled at you?
No, I haven't.
You haven't, huh?
Because I don't feel I'm doing anything wrong.
You ain't
So
nothing
he ain't learned nothing.
Rock and roll has got to go. And go it does at KWK. We're all through playing rock and roll records. This week is record-breaking week here at KWK. And after this week, no more rock and roll will be played on the air.
The obscenity and vulgarity of the rock and roll music is obviously a means by which the white man and his children can be driven to the level with a nigger. It is obviously nigger music.
Everybody mostly turn.
All right, give me a pause. We're about 11 N-words in, and I'm like, okay. I'm very interested to know. So here's what's interesting to me, and here's what's great about this, is that time evolves. I believe that if there is a God knew that these things would come to pass and go past. You know what I'm saying? Come to pass and then pass. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize that Elvis was this ridiculed. I didn't realize he was this ridiculed back in the day. I thought that, I mean, I know he was controversial, but I didn't know that they thought his leg gyrating was this and that they called him the N-word music and all that. I really did not know that. He died when I was like 3. All I've seen is good things about Elvis, so I didn't know. This is super interesting.
Can be driven to the level with a nigger. It is obviously nigger
12
music.
N-words.
Everybody mostly turned him down. And because first thing, he had Negroes' ways. This is what they didn't, really at that time, they didn't want to accept.
By black performers, and he, in essence, because of at that particular time, the kind of backwards mental capability that many people had as judging a person because of the color of their skin somewhat still does exist. But back then it was worse, and he actually, because of him being a Caucasian brother, he was able to to do away with that whole thing.
He's 77-year-old Early Wright, a disc jockey at radio station WROX in Clarksdale for 45 years.
Hi there. Pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How do you do? This is your soul man to be with you until it gets through. I want you to stand by, don't have no fear. Following Jay's show, should I play one like this one from out of here? Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley.
Elvis's songs still get good play on Wright's program among the blues, gospel, and jazz recordings that are its staples. It was almost 40 years ago when Elvis drove down to Clarksdale from Memphis with a record and asked him to play it.
And I had been playing his record, and I had never seen him before, and I was amazed to see him. When he introduced himself to being Elvis Presley, then I went all to pieces over him. Then he and I started talking. I used to be the manager of a gospel group called the 4-Star Quartet, and I could listen to a man sing a hymn. I could listen to a man sometime talk. I did that. And I could pick him out whether he could fit in my group. And talking to Elvis Presley, I could see a great future in him.
Nice.
It's no accident that Wright recognized Elvis's strong gospel roots. Here at the East Trigg Baptist Church in Memphis, older members of the congregation remember Elvis joining in with the choir while in high school. These were rousing sessions led by the charismatic pastor, the Reverend W. Herbert Brewster.
Like most black people in the South, and to whose throat God has pressed down a harp of 1,000 strings, it only needed tuning. Elvis's voice was that type of voice that agreed with the thought of Calvary. He had that kind of bent and inclination and attitude that suggested that God could use him.
So give me a pause real quick, and what I'll jump in and say real quick is that when you want to be a star, people have to agree that you're good. One thing about Elvis is that everybody agreed that he was amazing. Everyone agreed. When he sang, everybody, it did something to people, obviously to church folk, to secular folk, to rock folk, even the people that hated him. It did something to him. That's how you know you got a star on your hands. When the masses agree that it's good, even good enough to where it's leading people, it's influencing people, I guess I should say, influencing people in a way you didn't want it to influence them. With the gyrating leg, they didn't want it to influence them like that. But he had that influence, man. You could tell he was definitely a bona fide star.
Music, a different approach, a new beat. I knew that it wasn't going to hurt if I said much Jesus bear the cross alone, whether I've said with 1 beat, 2 beat, whether I've said it high or low. And I told them, come on in here and put your stuff together. They came in here, and it was a glorious experience, and Elvis was in that group.
Elvis came out with a style of his own, and it was very creative. And once he got into it, and you got that feel, Elvis just took off like a late freight. And with Elvis doing this kind of music, gave an injection to black music that no other artist had ever done.
It was like an earthquake in my neighborhood. The whole place was shaking when he came on. And I said, how did a person possess that kind of power?
Yeah, I'm telling you,
comes
everybody
off
agreed.
the TV and grabbed me in this ghetto neighborhood.
Elvis took my Tutti Frutti, and I was very disgusted. But by him singing it, he really made it bigger and made me bigger.
During those days, if it was a
So
white
what
artist
can
doing
you
something,
say?
they would just say, they don't like our blacks and we don't like them either. He's nothing but a copycat. But Elvis Presley, when he came on, chicks was screaming and going crazy, and it was like in any other neighborhood. And I said, this guy's got something going, man.
Elvis had something that made him sound like he truly meant it, and that's what made a lot of people like myself like him.
I think Elvis had lots of soul. He appealed to black people. He definitely had to have soul in order to do that.
I think there's ever been an artist that when his name went on the marquee, they knew he was coming. People came from all over the world. I never heard of that.
Elvis did a lot of stuff that, rappers do these days.
He had the bling. You gotta have the bling when you're from Memphis. He had the bling, you know, he had a Cadillac, you know, he had like a gangster image.
Yeah.
As the snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto.
The song also resonates with people who've only met Elvis through his songs.
Yeah, like me.
They was talking about the hood, you know, they talking about where we come from.
Paul Beauregard and Jordan Houston are the Oscar-winning rap duo 3-6 Mafia. They grew up just 2 blocks from Graceland in one of Memphis's poorest neighborhoods.
I want a CD scratcher. My mom used to always listen to this song when I was young. He talked about, you know, things that she went through. You know, she had like, you know, my mom had a bunch of kids, like 9 kids. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get somebody to listen to your song. You talk about what they know about and what they want to hear. And she know about the ghetto, because, you know, she lived in the ghetto.
Right.
The ghetto. That's it.
And his mama cries. But if there's one thing that she don't need, it's another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto.
After we find the part on the record that we want to use, we sample it into the drum machine or the keyboard. That way we can loop it like.
My first line says, first I'm broke, so I hang out with the rat and roach. It's still broke, so I'm sleeping on apartment floors. So it's just like the struggle, you know, what's going on in the hood. First I'm broke, so I hang out with the rat and roach. It's still broke, so I'm sleeping on apartment floors. And I was off beat, but it's all good, cause it's on TV.
No,
maybe
it's not.
they do some edits, make me look cool, maybe put my name in the credits.
Nice.
Once we have all that ready, you know, we load it into the drum machine and then pay out.
So he starts to roam the streets at night, and he learns how to steal, and he learns how to fight in the ghetto. Survival is an everyday task, watching your back for the man wearing the mask. I say you might
That's
get
hard.
stuck if you in the hood looking like it came up. We ride old school whips, high off the ground right beside a player hill. It ain't bad as it seems, we still stay fly looking so clean.
First I'm broke, so I hang out with the rat and roach. And still broke, cause I'm sleeping on apartment floors. The junkies kill up, kick, when they smoke a brick. I never seen a drug dealer ever call it quits. The hood struggle is to make it, gotta get the change. See, every day is like a dark cloud full of rain. The feds tapping for it's dangerous when you hood trapping. So don't get lost in the sauce slinging, cold crackling.
So help your brother along
Hard.
the way, no matter where he starts.
I never heard that
The
3-6
same God
Mafia
that
song,
made you
man.
made him too. These men with broken hearts.
So before we go to the next section, give me a pause, man. This is super interesting. I didn't, I wasn't aware that I was about to watch a documentary. I thought this was a video, or maybe that was just kind of, you know how like videos start and it seems like a movie or seems like a documentary and then they break into a song. I didn't know what I was going to see. This is, you know, this gives me a whole different perspective on Elvis and how black folks thought of him. You know, all I know is because I was born in the 70s. All I knew was just the music. I didn't really know the history on Elvis and how anybody thought about him. You know what I'm saying? At all. I didn't know he was that hated in the white community even back then, and that they thought he was like this, it was devil music. Now, I do know this. I do know, because I've seen Footloose and I've heard a couple things. I do know that they thought rock and roll was devil music. I do know that, of course. But I didn't know that they looked at Elvis. I thought Elvis was like revered and loved the whole time. So, you know, to know that people even went through a bunch of struggle and still became this big star, or even he had struggled while he was a big star. When I hear stories of triumph, man, it's very inspiring. It's super inspiring and keeps me, what inspires me to keep going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I still put out music. Of course, I do YouTube, but it's a very inspiring story, man. And again, times change. Oh, what those people would say now if they could see how everybody has really just come together, man. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Let's keep going.
During the 60s and early 70s, when tensions between blacks and whites were at an all-time high, Elvis demonstrated his desire for racial reconciliation in the musicians that he chose and the treatment they received.
Yeah, I noticed he always had like black female background singers.
first decided to take the gig with Elvis, we had no idea that there would be any racial flack regarding it. Our first racial encounter was when we went to Texas. Elvis was told by his people that, well, you can leave the black girls home. You don't have to bring them. So Elvis wasn't going to do the Astrodome unless his girls could be with him. And he demanded that we be given the star treatment. We had to be in our convertible where everybody could see us, and our little blonde could drive us. And that was his statement. You don't like it? Deal with it, or I'm not going to be there. And I thought that was very big of him.
When I joined the group in 1972, they took a big chance because there were no blacks in contemporary or Southern gospel music, and I was the first one, and it made all the headlines and everything. It was in Billboard and all the newspapers in Tennessee. And my first time meeting Elvis was, he had a folder full of clippings of things that he had read about me. As a matter of fact, the Imperials brought me to his suite, and he gave me this folder with all the clippings, and he personally welcomed me into the family. And for a guy who, you know, didn't really know where he stood, this was very important that he acknowledged my presence and, you know, made me feel very much a part of what we were all doing. And right away, he treated me like he'd known me for years. He gave me one of those TCB chains and everything, and I was just one of the guys, and I never forgot that.
And I've been around him with people, other people of color, and I've only seen him give love. He was very generous to people that he didn't even know. You didn't have to be of any racial persuasion for him to love you.
And you know, you know how rumors get started.
Exactly.
When there's a big star or something, the people will start rumors. Well, he doesn't like this kind of people, or he doesn't like those people or that people. And I never got that from him.
But you know, Elvis is a whole nother thing. It's just, I think it's scary to even be compared to people in that, like, you know, I mean, because he's such a big talent, and in his absence, of course, he's bigger than in his presence. And music marks time, so in this time period, where Elvis was...
Give me a pause real quick. Isn't that crazy, y'all? Isn't that crazy that people are bigger when they pass away? It's that feeling of their absence that drives you to desire them. You know, one thing I will say about this, I didn't know this about Elvis, man. This is incredible. It's really dope, man. Seems like a great person. I don't think people are just putting on for the camera. I think that they really, really loved him, the people that were close to him, aside from the fans, you know what I'm saying? I think people really loved him. But I do think, and one other thing I will say before this thing even wraps up is, love people while they're here. Give them their flowers while they're here, man. I think Elvis got flowers while he's here, but even more in his passing, and I think you should give people, they should have given him even more flowers than they already even did before he passed away. Don't let people be gone before you really, really celebrate them is one thing that I'm taking away from this.
His period would be something totally different. Well, I think rock and roll, I mean, what he brought to Vegas is more than rock and roll. I mean, I think there's so much going on out here on the entertainment front. Like right now, you'll see the likes of Celine Dion and Tony Braxton. It's a lot going out here. You know what I mean? As far as rock and roll is concerned, it's great. I mean, Elvis Presley was able to do things that haven't been able to be duplicated to this day.
Right.
Black American music influenced Elvis. The fact that people say, well, he's the king of it all, king of rock and roll, is a slap in the face to those that made the music possible in the first place. Not to say he wasn't brilliant. I think he was a fantastic, talented singer.
I don't think he ripped them off. I think once something has been exposed, anyone can add or take from it if they like. He was just so great, so popular, so hot, so anything that he played, it became a hit. To me, they didn't make a mistake when they called him the king.
That's right.
The only thing I want to know, was he my friend? Did I enjoy him as a performer? Did he give the world of entertainment something? Yes, on all counts. And that's the name of that tune.
Right.
He was a bundle of energy set to music. And that echo will never die.
Wow, dude. How incredible of a relatively short documentary is that, man? He gave a lot. So here's what I would say about that, because I've heard people say that about him ripping off the black community or what have you. Here's what I'll say, and this is honestly what I think. I think he opened the door. I think if there were black artists that couldn't get in and he did similar music, I think he opened the door and made it easier for them to get in. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how people thought back then. They thought a certain way about blacks and whites. And I would say that Elvis definitely opened the door for even people like me who have been able to work with all sorts of artists. He did different genres of music. It wasn't just rock and roll. You know what I mean? It was like R&B and rock and pop and all of that. And it opened the door for even people like myself to be able to get in the door, work with all types of artists from all races and all genres of music. So I thank you, Elvis. I'm giving you your flowers. I understand that he's passed, and he passed when I was 3 years old, and I'm 50. You know what I mean? Dang, he's been gone for 47 years. It's crazy. I appreciate Elvis for opening the door. I'm glad all of these people spoke like that, man. Thank you, Elvis Presley, man. I appreciate it, dog. That's it, man. This is a different video for me to react to. I think I may have to do more of these. Let me know if you like these, and I may do more of these. And I got another channel that we're starting soon anyway. So like, share, comment, and subscribe, man. We need to have a conversation about this one in the comments. I'll see y'all on the next one, man. Cali, baby. See you. Bye.